3 months ago, I watched the two people who brought me into this world swing a crowbar through someone else's living room wall, convinced they were teaching me a lesson. What they didn't know was that they were actually handing me the freedom I never realized I'd been craving, freedom from the people who were supposed to love me the most. My name is Harper Lane, and this is the story of how I learned that sometimes the most toxic people in your life share your last name. Before we go any further, listen carefully, because this next part is your 15-second wake-up call. If you've ever felt guilty for choosing your peace over your bloodline, if you've ever been made to feel selfish for protecting your future, or if someone has ever called you ungrateful for refusing to be their personal bank, then please, don't you dare stop listening. This story might help you choose yourself the way I finally did. And before you leave, hit that like button, drop a comment with the word freedom, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it now. Let's rewind to where everything truly began. It started with $138,000 and a family dinner that cracked my world wide open. But to understand why that money nearly burned my life to the ground, you need to go back with me 5 years, when I was still naive enough to think family loyalty was unconditional. I was 29 then, living in a tiny Minneapolis studio that barely fit a bed, a desk, and my cat. Every morning for 4 years, I'd wake up staring at my ceiling, just 12 inches from my face, and remind myself why I was grinding so hard, why I was living off instant ramen, why I hadn't bought a new pair of shoes in 2 years, why my weekends were spent coding freelance projects instead of going out with friends. The answer was simple. I was building my way out. I had a dream with a hard price tag of $38,000. That was how much I needed to put down on the kind of home I'd always fantasized about, a 2-story craftsman tucked in a quiet Minnesota neighborhood, a place where the morning sun poured in like liquid honey and the evenings felt like safety. For 4 years, I saved every extra dollar. I gave up vacations, brunches, nights out. I poured myself into work, sometimes finishing a 12-hour shift only to turn around and pick up a freelance gig. Every dollar was a brick. Every sacrifice was part of the foundation. And every Saturday, I'd visit my parents in White Bear Lake for family dinner, something we did like clockwork. Mom always made beef roast. Dad always complained about the snow. And my older brother Caleb, age 34, would show up with his wife Jenna, who spoke about financial opportunities, like they were lottery tickets she just hadn't scratched yet. Caleb was the golden child, the one Mom and Dad always bragged about, even though he'd failed at business twice. Even though both failures had cost my parents tens of thousands of dollars. Even though he never seemed to learn. That Saturday in October felt off the minute I stepped inside. Jenna was whispering to Caleb like they were plotting a heist. Mom kept giving me these bright, strange smiles that didn't reach her eyes. Dad looked everywhere but at me. I was too excited to notice all the warning signs. I had photos of the house I wanted pulled up on my phone, ready to show them the dream I'd been shaping brick by brick, dollar by dollar. "Harper," Mom said with that tone I recognized immediately, a tone she used whenever. She was about to ask for something big. "Caleb has wonderful news to share." And with that, Caleb didn't just talk about his business venture, no, he presented it. Like a PowerPoint at a board meeting. He had graphs, projections, a printed pamphlet with a logo. I swear he said the words, market disruption, at least 3 times. "I've learned from the past," he said, voice full of confidence he hadn't earned. "This venture is different. It's smart. It's scalable. I just need capital to get started." And then, every head in the room turned toward me. Not casually, not subtly, deliberately, like predators who'd already circled their prey. "Why are you looking at me like that?" I asked. Mom cleared her throat. "Well, you've been saving for a house, and your father and I thought—" "Mom," I said sharply, "how do you know how much I have saved?" She looked away. That was when it hit me. They had talked about me. My finances, my savings. They had planned this moment like a trap. Caleb leaned forward, fake gentle. "Harper, Mom mentioned you have around $138,000 saved." The world went silent except for the pounding in my chest. They had counted my money. They had decided what I owed them. They didn't see me as family. They saw me as a funding source. No, I said immediately. I'm not investing my house money into your business. Caleb's smile dropped like a mask falling off. But if you help me, he insisted, I'll double your investment in 2 years. You could buy an even better house. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was insane. You failed twice, I said. Maybe it's time to stop trying to get rich without working. Boom. That did it. Caleb stormed out. Jenna called me selfish. And my parents, my own parents, turned on me like I'd burned down the family home. How could you be so heartless? Mom snapped. Caleb has more potential than you'll ever have. Dad delivered the fatal blow. If you don't help your brother, you are no longer part of this family. And just like that, everything I had believed about love, loyalty, blood, it all cracked. I stood. I walked, I left, and the next day I changed my number. 1 year later, I bought the house. The exact one. A 2-story dream with creaking floors that made it feel alive. I had peace. I had stability. I had a life that was finally mine. And then, 5 years passed without a word from them. 5 years of calm. 5 years of growth. 5 years where I met Elias, the man who showed me what real love felt like. Elias lived in Seattle. We met online in a professional networking group, bonded over our love of old architecture and bad coffee. He was gentle, patient, stable, everything. My family wasn't. We were planning a future together. I was even considering selling my house to move to Washington so we could start our next chapter. Life felt finally beautifully settled. Until one Tuesday morning, when an email popped up from an address I hadn't seen in a decade. Subject, Harper, it's urgent. Life and death. Please come home. The name below the message made my stomach twist. Mom, despite everything, despite the wounds, the betrayal, the silence, those 2 words, life and death, pulled me right back in. I needed answers. I agreed to meet them that Saturday. When I pulled up to their house, I noticed 2 cars in the driveway. A brand new Lexus, a Tesla, not exactly the vehicles, of people on the brink of death. My heartbeat quickened. I knocked. Mom opened the door crying. Harper, she breathed. Thank you for coming. The whole family sat inside like some bizarre reunion episode. Caleb hunched over, Jenna clasping his hand. Dad stiff as a board. What's going on? I asked. Your message said someone was dying. Mom swallowed hard. It's Caleb, she finally said. He's in terrible trouble. Caleb wouldn't look at me. Not once. Dad cleared his throat. His business collapsed 3 months ago. He owes money. A lot. How much? I asked. $165,000? Mom whispered. And the people he owes it to. They're dangerous. Jenna cut in dramatically. They've been calling nonstop. They know where we live. I exhaled slowly. That's awful, truly, but I still don't understand why I'm here. Mom reached for my hand. Something she hadn't done in years. Harper, we think you should sell your house to help your brother. The silence after that sentence was so loud it shook something inside me. I stared at them, stunned. You want me to sell the home I spent years saving for? Mom nodded. You're young. You can earn another one. Caleb's life is at stake. I laughed, sharp and humorless. You kicked me out of the family for not giving him money once? Now you want me to destroy my future to fix his mistake? Dad snapped. Family helps family. No, I said quietly. Family doesn't abandon you for 5 years. Family doesn't treat you like a bank. Family doesn't hire private investigators to track you down. We didn't. Mom started. Don't lie, I said. I saw the cars in the driveway. If you need money, maybe sell those. Jenna gasped. Those are for work. Then maybe work harder, I said. And for the first time in my life, I meant every word that followed. I'm not saving Caleb. He made his choices. He can face the consequences. Mom glared like she didn't recognize the woman standing in front of her. You'll regret this, Harper. No, I said. For the first time, I won't. and I walked out of that house. Forever, in the quiet glow of the following morning. The air around Willow Rest Valley felt different, as if the entire world paused to inhale before revealing its next secret. Ava Morgan stood near the edge of Lake Everline, her reflection trembling, on the surface like a memory deciding whether it wanted to stay or vanish forever. She had survived the impossible, uncovered truths buried deeper than the valley's oldest roots. And now the weight of those discoveries pressed on her chest with a steady, unrelenting rhythm. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the cool breeze brush against her cheeks, reminding her that she was still here, still fighting, still standing. The chaos of the previous night replayed through her mind. The flicker of lanterns under the collapsing ridge, the echo of voices calling her name, the harsh crack of earth splitting open as if the mountain itself roared in warning. But underneath that noise lingered something quieter, something she couldn't quite understand, a whisper of purpose, a promise of unfinished business. And that was why she couldn't walk away yet, not when the truth was still only half spoken. As she wrapped her arms around herself, she sensed footsteps behind her, soft but deliberate. Turning, she saw Ethan Hale approaching, his dark jacket fluttering in the wind, his expression carrying the same exhaustion and determination. She felt burning inside her. Ethan was older than her by almost a decade, 38 to her 28, but hardship had carved the same intensity into both their faces. Couldn't sleep? He asked. Happened. The valley won't let us ignore it. And honestly, neither will our own conscience. Ava exhaled slowly. The journal changed everything. Ethan's jaw tightened. Yeah, and we still don't know who else has seen it. Hidden beneath the roots of an old sycamore tree, they found the crumbling leather journal. Pages, filled with warnings from a man who disappeared decades earlier. A man who tried to expose the government's covert experiments beneath. Willow Rest Valley? His words told of a program that manipulated seismic frequencies, trying to weaponize the natural fault lines beneath the region, intending to create controlled quakes to test military infrastructure resilience. But the tests were never controlled. They triggered unpredictable fractures that endangered thousands. And the government buried every shred of evidence, leaving witnesses to disappear or forced into silence. Ava's father had been one of those witnesses. She now knew the truth that stole his life, a truth he tried to hide to protect his daughter, hoping the valley would forget what it had seen. But Willow Rest Valley remembered everything. If we go public, we'll become targets, Ethan said quietly, pulling Ava from her thoughts. They won't let us walk away freely, not after we found that journal. Then we don't walk away, Ava replied firmly. Not until the world knows what happened here. Ethan glanced at her with admiration tinged with fear. You're braver than most. No, she whispered. I'm just tired of being afraid. As they stood together, the sun crept higher, its golden rays spilling across the lake like a promise of clarity. Ava felt something shift inside her. This was the moment everything changed. She took the journal from her bag, flipping through the pages, her fingers brushing the cracked edges. There's someone we haven't talked to, she murmured. Someone who might have answers, Ethan frowned. Who? Dr. Lorian Briggs, the geologist who left Willow Rest right after my dad died. He disappeared from the public eye, but rumors say he's living in a remote cabin 2 hours from here. Ethan crossed his arms. If he was part of the original project, he might be running for a reason. He might not want to talk. Ava shut the journal. Or he's waiting for someone to finally finish what they started. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. Then we go to him. Today, the drive into the mountains felt like traveling through a living memory. The narrow roads twisted like veins through dense forests, sunlight flickering through branches like coded messages. Ava kept replaying her father's last conversation. With her, the urgency in his tone, his insistence that she leave the valley if anything ever happened to him. But she didn't leave. She stayed. And because she stayed, she uncovered the truth he died protecting. Ethan kept the vehicle steady as the road climbed higher. You okay? He asked. Just thinking, Ava replied. Every mile closer feels like a step towards something huge, something we can't undo. That's usually how truth works, Ethan said. Once you see it, it becomes impossible to unsee. When they reached Dr. Briggs's cabin, the air smelled of pine and old rain. The cabin looked abandoned, windows shuttered, porch creaking in the wind. But as they stepped closer, a voice called from behind the door. If you came for what's buried, turn back now. There's nothing left worth dying. For? Ava exchanged a glance with Ethan. We're not here for what's buried, she called out. We're here because of what's been hidden. Silence. Then the door cracked open, revealing an older man with silver hair, sharp eyes, and a tremor in his hand. What do you know? He asked. Ava held up the journal. Dr. Briggs's face drained of color. You shouldn't have brought that here. Then tell us why it exists, Ava insisted. Tell us what they're still hiding in Willow Rest Valley. Briggs stared at them for a long time before stepping aside. Come in. If you're brave enough to learn how deep this goes, I won't stop you. But understand, once you hear the truth, you'll be hunted same as I was. Inside, the cabin was cluttered with maps, seismic charts, and radio equipment. Briggs sat heavily in a chair, rubbing his temples. Your father tried to stop them, he said, looking at Ava. He found out they'd resumed the tests. New technology, bigger risks. He wasn't supposed to know. They silenced him before he could warn anyone. Ava's throat tightened. Then we expose them now. Briggs gave a humorless laugh. Expose them? You think they haven't erased every record, every witness, every trace? Ethan stepped forward. Maybe, but they didn't erase this journal. Briggs studied him carefully. And you're willing to risk your life for this? Some truths are worth the risk, Ethan replied. Briggs leaned back, closing his eyes for a moment before nodding. Then listen. There's something worse than what you know. He pulled out an old metal case and set it on the table. Inside were photographs, classified documents, and audio tapes. These, he whispered, are copies they never found. Ava's heart pounded. This is proof. More than proof, Briggs said. This is the blueprint of everything they've done and everything they still plan to. Ew, Ethan flipped through the documents. If this is real, we need to get it out. To journalists, to the public, someone who can't be bought or silenced. Briggs shook his head. You won't make it 10 miles with that evidence. They monitor every movement in and out of this region. They'll come for you long before you reach a city, but Ava wasn't afraid anymore. She felt a fire inside her, steady, fierce, unbreakable. Then we don't run, she said. We fight back. Briggs studied her with a mixture of sorrow and admiration. Your father would be proud. He always believed you'd grow strong enough to finish what he couldn't. Determined, Ava stuffed the documents into her bag. We're taking this to the world. Then you better leave now, Briggs warned. They'll already know you were here. As Ava and Ethan rushed back to the car, the hum of an approaching helicopter vibrated through the air. Ethan cursed under his breath. They found us. Ava tightened her grip on the bag. Let them come. We're not giving up. They sped down the mountain road, dust rising behind them in a stormy trail. The helicopter shadowed them overhead, its blades slicing the air like a threat. But Ava wasn't the girl she used to be, the one who lived in quiet fear. She was a force now, charged with truth, fueled by purpose. If anything happens, Ethan said, voice steady despite the danger, upload everything. Don't hesitate. We're both making it out, Ava insisted. This story deserves the world's eyes, and we're going to make sure they see it. The helicopter dipped lower, but Ava leaned forward, voice rising with unshakable resolve. To everyone watching, listen carefully. Don't let this story die in silence. If you're hearing this right now, hit that like button, share this message, and leave your voice in the comments. Truth only wins when people stand behind it, and together we're unstoppable. This fight isn't just ours, it's yours too. Let's shake the world awake.